Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming today. I know showing up for a 10 a.m. lecture after the happy hours at GDC is a big accomplishment for everybody. Plus, we're next door to who I assume is the Messiah next door, considering the queues that were there for him. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit today about how we've developed VIP for social gaming, and I'll start by talking about myself for a little bit just to give you some background. I started in gaming in 2005 in real money gaming in Europe. I worked for sportsbook, poker and casino companies over there, and 6 years ago I decided to make a transition over to social gaming. And at the time of the move I did have a very pointed objective to see if we could revolutionize social gaming in terms of VIP the way we had done for VIP, and realize an upside there that we were getting from our VIP in real money gaming. It wasn't an easy feat, so for those of you in the room who are just starting off, it started off with myself with 900 high-value VIPs on a spreadsheet on the phone in Ireland, trying to build relationships with VIP players. And now I've got staff in 4 continents, and we have over 1 million VIPs that we service from those staff. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that and how we got there. But before I start, it would help me a lot if I could just gauge, where the audience is coming from, so I know where to deep dive into and where to quickly move over. So just by a quick show of hands, who in the group is with support community and they're looking to move their operation into VIP? Okay, and then who is in marketing and game teams who are looking to see how they can find an upside? Okay, and is there anybody who actually has a VIP department running that they want to evaluate against ours being Zynga's? Okay, wonderful. Thank you for that. That gives me some great context. So today, this is the goals that and the takeaways for today. We're going to go through setup, maintenance, and improvement for your VIP department. And that will include us reviewing things like player segmentation, operationalizing data science models, input on products, staffing for your VIP, rewarding VIPs, VIP KPIs, return on investment, which is obviously why you're all sitting here. I'm under no illusions as to why people are here. Everybody has their ideas about how the operation works, but everybody wants to see how do we get the ROI on that so that we can actually invest in it. So towards the end, we'll actually go through definitively. I have a fake company. They're not Zynga numbers, but it will show you how to allocate headcount against the profit that you're getting from your VIP department. And then we'll just recap on those takeaways at the end. So what does your operation look like today? So speaking to people over the years, and sorry, just going back there, we launched VIP 4 years ago with Zynga. I started working for them for 6 years, but it took me 2 years to convince the staff that VIP in social gaming would work the way it does in real money. So I started with casino, then went into poker, then we went into our builder games, we went into Farmville, now we've got our CSR2 games. So all of these games are being serviced with the same strategy, but of course an element of that is adapted at every point based on what our VIPs actually want, their wants and needs. And I'll go very deeply into that as we move along so that you can see the depth of relationships that we have with our VIPs and how that effectively lets us to build marketing campaigns that are very effective for the company. So some people are running their VIP through their support at the moment, which maybe includes better service levels for your players coming through your general channels. It may be that you have dedicated community managers who are speaking to your highest social players, but not necessarily their lifetime spend is taken into account, and there's a lot of maybe effort and staffing going into community. And there may be some companies out there that are dealing with inbound queries where you're segmenting your highest value players so they get immediate attention, and they're maybe working with your best agents in support. On the other side, there are companies out there who do have dedicated VIP account managers, and they do have the team in place. And from what I can gather, just to give people an idea of not just what Zynga does, what other people out there are doing, is that there are a lot of companies out there whose BI team are sending across some reports to some account managers, either agents or account managers, and they're then manipulating that data to see who is it that I need to speak to today, what is the biggest impact I can have on this list, or maybe Splunk reports or whatever kind of reporting format you use, that's potentially what you're using there. There could be some dedicated account managers helping the marketing team. So I know the marketing folks are super interested in reaching those VIPs, those highest value VIP players. And some of what I've come across is people who are fulfilling those promotions. So when the VIP comes back, or helping them actually execute the promotions as well. And then you may be surfacing real-time transactions to a VIP team so that they can potentially reactivate players as they drop off the trajectory to be a successful VIP. Or there could be like M-Life for land-based casinos. I know they have a VIP team, but they do inbound reward fulfillment for their loyalty programs. So it could be any number of those things. So that's what I know is out there in the marketplace at the moment. And we're going to have a look at kind of what Zynga do today. So what could it look like tomorrow? If your department, if your company had segmentation proficiency and you were able to provide your player base, to segment your player base, to provide treatment that was applicable to them in terms of rewards and bonuses that you knew would bring a return on investment, real connections with your VIP players. If for those of you that are in the game team at the moment and working on a game team, you'll know probably everybody in this room at some point has been asked by the game team, this feature is just not gaining any traction. We don't know why. We're not monetizing this feature really well. We tested it with insights. We did beta testing. It all seemed to go very well. So if you have a VIP account manager who's connected with your highest value VIPs, the game team will immediately call my team and say, can you call your players and see what's happening? So the same thing happens with exploits as well. When there's exploits in the game and the game team and QA just cannot figure out where the exploit is coming from, we'll have the account managers actually call the VIPs and say, what's happening out there? And they'll say, okay, when you go into this bonus round, this is what's happening. And, you max bet and you get this back, and we're able to feed that back into the team who'll then QA check it and say, yep, it's an exploit, and fix it. So that's the kind of real-time connections that benefit the studio. In terms of tech proficiency, you really need the use of a fully functional system that surfaces player data at an account manager level to the account managers, that also surfaces call queues to them, so we're not manipulating data on a spreadsheet, and they're based on data science models, and you have the ability to record the productivity and the impact for the business. In terms of data science that I just touched on, I know a lot of you in the room would prefer and need to find out where's the mix between our machine learning, our data science models. How do we apply that to human VIP management so that we can marry the two and find that sweet spot that really helps you keep those players engaged? You can identify them with machine learning, but then how do you operationalize that so that your account managers are doing the right things, following the right strategies so that they're pulling those VIPs back into the game? And then the last thing, of course, is proven ROI. So in order for us to get any investment in VIP, we need to be able to prove that it works. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how we did that with experimentation in VIP. And that gives you the power then to give to the game teams in their projections to say, we will give you X back on your investment in VIP over the next year. And then they can make a decision, do I put this against engineering or do I put it against VIP? Because you have a definitive return on investment, you then are able to go up against game teams or engineers, teams like that. So I'll move on to the next one, and this is just a journey of a VIP. So this is her full journey. So the last slide was about what it looks like for a company. Now this is what it looks like for a player on the other side of things. So this is Mary, and before she became a VIP, she started playing in the system. She was new to the Zynga network. She'd never played on any of our Zynga games before. Within the first 2 days, she made her first purchase, and within the first 3 weeks, she became a VIP. This is very, very typical behavior of VIPs that we see in the first week or the first 3 weeks of them being with us. So she moves on to service then. She's assigned an account manager. The account managers, when we send out communication, a welcome from our account manager, their image is in the email and their signature is at the end of the email, just so that they're connected from a person to a person. One of them is in the crowd right now, Daniel. He's one of our account managers. So she gets a weekly touch base campaign from her VIP account manager. So it's not from a marketing department to a player. It's from a VIP, a person to a person. So there's no bells and whistles. And I'm going to show you some examples of that later on, where you're trying to appeal from a friend to a friend, because you've built up these relationships with the VIPs. So you need to pour more effort into that in all of your communication, not just your contacts on the phone. So we're going to talk a little bit about surfacing for for phone numbers here. But so Mary starts to call into her account managers when she has issues. So the account managers is not a pure sales job. It is, I'm going to talk a little bit later about the profile of a VIP account manager. It's 60-40 proactive sales versus 40% inbound. So if I have Mary on the phone and I'm asking Mary, hey, we've got this awesome sweepstake coming up. You can win a trip to Vegas. You need to make a purchase. Every purchase you make in the month of March is going to entitle you to an additional entry into our sweepstake. When Mary has a problem with a game, she doesn't want to talk to somebody in support. She wants to talk to me because she committed to me and I'm going to commit back. And that's the way it works with the account management. So next we've got retention. So we start to send swag out to Mary. She's becoming a very committed VIP, and we invite her to the studios to do focus group with our studio team. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. It's one of our biggest benefits of our VIP department is the connection between our game teams and the VIP department. We also run live events. So Mary attended a slot tournament in Reno, and she actually won about $5,000 at this tournament. Then we start to cross-sell. So she's a slots player, and we've got 4 slots products. So then it's time to say, hey, I know you like either the story slots or you're more into Hit It Rich and the likes of those kind of slots that don't have a storyline. So her account manager knows this information about her and cross-promos her, hey, I'm going to put some coins into your account. Why don't you go try out this new game? And because she knows what her VIP account manager knows what she likes, she'll move over and give the game a shot. One of our SVPs calls it the silver bullet from one game to the other, the silver bullet being the account manager. At this point, she's become a very committed, loyal player. So she's speaking to her account manager on a weekly basis. And this particular VIP is now VIP in 4 games. And she runs a super group which has 26,000 followers in the super group. And what she does there is she gives promotions. She tells people about known issues in the game and how to fix them. So she became a full absolute advocate because she knows her VIP. She's been to meet the account managers. We've brought her on trips. We've rewarded her with loyalty. So let's jump into the setup of how this works. The very first thing you have to do is get phone numbers and emails for your players. There are so many mobile games out there that attempt to apply VIP management without any account details. And if you're starting from that point, you're talking about MOTDs or push notifications that are not two-way, that are not their messaging to your players, but it's in no way going to build a relationship. So the first thing that you've got to do is create a space or a feature that will allow you to collect your VIP's phone numbers. So when our VIP passes our dollar threshold that we consider them a VIP, it will be different by game. It's different for Zynga than it will be for everybody else, depending on your genre. And they will be surfaced this in-game. And of course, you'll be incentivized the higher, loyalty value you have, the higher the incentivization will be for you to submit your phone number. And that phone number, once submitted then, you need to be very careful, obviously, with GDPR. Now, this GDPR world we're all living in at the moment, it's a nightmare for everybody. But keeping those phone numbers encrypted is really important. So when you pull it from the game, when it lands on your data warehouse, it should be encrypted because they're very valuable. Excuse me. They're very valuable lists, and you don't want anybody to be able to pull them within the company. So the only place phone numbers are visible within Zynga is when they're surfaced in the CRM system, because the player themselves said they just want to submit for their account manager to reach out to them and no other reason. So we need to ensure that that's what happens to that data. And of course, for reactivations and engagement, the success rate, call over email, I'll go into a little bit more, but the flat rate of the success rate between the two for VIP, for a back to pay, for example, we have about a 5%. We have about a 5% success rate on our back to pay emails, and we have a 15% success rate when somebody's on the phones. Obviously, emails are more scalable than phones, but you can see how lucrative it is to actually have people on the phones doing this. So when we asked people to submit their phone numbers, we got about a 30 to 50% submission rate. When we got those, we didn't actually add an additional step for a link for verification within the feature, because it was going to add additional engineering time, and we wanted to spin it up quickly with one of the studios while they had some time on the roadmap to actually put it in for us. So we skipped the verification piece and we said, okay, we'll do a phone blast. So I had all my account managers in Chicago do 300 calls over a period of a couple of hours, and we found that the success rate, or the valid number rate, was about 80% for the first test. So we said, okay, let's flow with this then. So in terms of player segmentation options, so this is something, again, that I've put together, that I've heard from different companies over the years, and indeed from Real Money Gaming. These are some of the segmentation pieces that people use for their VIPs. Zynga may use a couple of these and some more, and then these are just some that I've put together from industry as well. So a lot of people go by lifetime spend of the VIP. There's by week over week spend as well, some people focus on. Their top 10 VIPs based on revenue people look at, by focusing on the highest value spenders daily. That's very much in Real Money Gaming, because we see people drop off very quickly, so we want to make sure that while they're purchasing at a heavy rate, that you're there to pick them up and keep them in. By the last 30 days spend, by lifetime spent and activity threshold, i.e. has played in X number of days, active being 1 to 14, lapsed being 14 to 30, and inactive thereafter. Or by segmenting your buckets, your main buckets that you have. So building a winning VIP team. So it's super important to build a VIP team that is really enthusiastic about sales and about generating revenue. If you try to pivot your support without any formal training or without any formal commitment to sales or any previous experience in sales, it's very difficult to do. The change management, it's hard to pivot that group because they're used to being reactive, taking inbound communications. To ask them now to get on the calls and make 90 on the phones and make 90 calls a day, it's a huge transition. So what I would suggest is that to find a winning team, and I do have an amazing winning team of VIP account managers, the background of them, they have extensive sales experience, 2 to 3 years of experience of hitting productivity targets. So those 90 plus a day targets, there are many companies out there that are hitting these goals, and you want to make sure you're taking somebody from that environment and you're not trying to take somebody from your current support organization who doesn't do anything near those productivity numbers, because it's going to hold you back. You're already going to have enough challenges. You don't need this as a challenge as well. That they're customer-centric, of course, that they're personable, that they really know how to build relationships with people, and they have the ability to generate revenue on their own initiative based on their account management background, and they have accuracy and attention to detail. So in order for you to be able to report back to the business what the return on investment is and the profitability is from your team, you really need to make sure that the team that are doing the work are reporting everything so that the strategy you think is working is actually what's working. So it's really important that that's built back correctly. Rapport building skills and a demonstrative history in dealing with a product team is really a great benefit to have. It's not absolutely essential in this piece for a starting profile, but So what the account managers do every week is they sit with the product team and they talk about, this is what our VIPs are talking about this week. This is the ailments they have. This is what they're loving in their competitors' game. So from support, we know we have the volume in support. We were able to come back to the game teams and say, hey, we've got 60,000 tickets came in about this feature. There's a huge issue here. And we can show by volume that we've got issues. But then you have an account manager who sits in the room and validates actually the top 2 things on that list. I've got 2 $100,000 players. That's just a number I picked out of the sky. That's not a Zynga number. It's just a number I picked out of the sky. And that then has a huge impact on the game teams because they really want to get working on that and get that resolved for those players so that they don't churn out of the game. So building meaningful relationships. So companies really need to invest in the account management, seeing they need to have like a very robust system so that we can use it to, first of all, connect with the VIPs and then build on those relationships. So the investment here, some of the things that we've done across Zynga is we do a lot of sweepstakes for our players, and sweepstakes will be, call to action maybe to play every day, or maybe every purchase you make will get you an entry, and the entry will get for poker players. We often go down to Vegas with our poker players. We have a license deal with WPT, so we leverage that for our VIPs so that they can enter into final tournaments down there. And we also have a license with Ferrari with our CSR2 team in London. So last year we had a sweepstake where we brought 25 of our VIPs out to Italy, and they got to race a Ferrari car on a closed circuit just for them for the day. So it is all about making it really, really meaningful to the player and not just having these, short events where really we're just bringing them in for a focus group to find out what they think of our product and here's a few sandwiches and we'll see you later. It warrants an investment from the company to really show loyalty. And there's one picture down here in the bottom, and this is one of our account managers, and just to show the meaningfulness of the relationships, this is one of my account managers on vacation in Amsterdam, where one of her VIPs lives, and she spent the day with her VIP. She wasn't working now, she just spent the day with her VIP hanging out. So that kind of gives you an idea of how they're really connected. So again, this is some of the investment in rewarding. So this is actually a Bugatti event where we brought some VIPs for the unveiling of the new Bugatti. And CSR2, folks, this is something that really, really is valuable to them. So we do a lot of deep dive research into what do our VIPs actually want? What is meaningful to them? So for example, for CSR2, these guys, the whole idea of the game, besides the racing, obviously, is, that they want to live inside a fantasy where they drive high-performance cars, and this is what they do, and this is why they're so engaged with their game. And then what we do as a VIP team is we give them sweepstakes so it keeps them engaged, not only with the game, but outside of the game, because guess what? We're going to give you a real-life experience outside the game that mirrors what you love about the game inside. Again, with poker WPT, a lot of our poker players say that they play because they want to hone their skills for Vegas. So we tend to bring them down. There's Scotty over there with some of our VIPs. We tend to bring them down to Vegas so that they can enjoy weekends down there. This is, you need to create exclusive events. So we do have the benefit in our game, and I'm sure some of you do, where you've got licensed IPs that you can leverage for your VIPs, and it makes it really exclusive for them. So one of these was Winona Judd, country western singer. We had a casino, a slots game for her, so we asked her to come and do a concert in head office for our VIPs, which she obliged, and we brought our VIPs in and had a very exclusive concert for them in HQ down the street here. So once you start to build out those relationships and bring the players to these events and have your account managers talking, now it's time to start profiling your VIPs. So I've just done a couple of profiles here for our VIP players. The first one is in our match genre. So talking to our VIPs, in this particular genre, they're slightly different in that their hobbies include things like home-based activities, gardening, solitary things like reading. So if I was to run a sweepstake to say you'll win a place for yourself and another 10 players in the game to meet in a certain place, that wouldn't appeal to this player at all. This player wants to be with her family. She wants to be either on her own or with her family. She doesn't want to be with players of the same of the same like-mindedness. So she plays to relax. Her drivers are timed events and leaderboards and calendar collections. So if I am going to do a sweepstake, I'm going to make sure it's something that she can go on a trip with her family as opposed to a trip with other players. On the other side of that, a poker player, its demographic is about male, female, 40 to 50, semi-retired or retired. They also love vacations, but they really enjoyed trips to Vegas with their other Zynga poker players. They love the social aspect of it. So they play to improve their skills, meet new friends, and they use it to escape for the day. So all of the things that I'm talking about here, you'll see as we move forward how relevant they are. So they may seem like we're just collecting random qualitative data, but you'll see how we apply that as I move along in the presentation. So just to finish this one off, this is looking at the different genres. We've got poker. WPT cruise is something that they really like. They can play poker on the cruise. Slots, they like high-end devices. Farmville, our Farmville VIPs don't really like to attend events. What they like is, give me something really customized in the game. I want a sparkly tree that screams I'm a VIP when my friends come to visit me on a farm. And that is what will make them happier than any trip that you could give them to Hawaii. And then CSR2, as I said, unveiling the Bugatti car or giving them an experience in Ferrari that can't be bought, by the way. So a lot of these things, you have to be very innovative. And the people who actually come up with these ideas are the VIP account managers. They'll come and they'll say, oh, my VIPs would love this. Is there any way we can do a sweepstake? And then we'll build a sweepstake around it. So there's a lot of brainstorming that's done with the account managers so that we can keep that data fresh, that qualitative data fresh. And of course, our data analytics team then give us the solid analytics then to back that up when we do the sweepstake. We look back and we can do comparable sweepstakes where we say, okay, in this one when we offered something in-game versus this one when we offered this real-life event in CSR2, what does that look like in terms of success? And we can see that in the numbers. So in terms of maintenance and improvement, so this is kind of an overview of the operation that we have right now. We have daily outbound calling. We have inbound support. So again, it's a relationship building or it's fixing issues for your VIPs when they have issues in the game. We also host events that we talked about. We also host focus groups. Focus groups are very beneficial to the company when they're coming from your highest, most loyal players. And I'll go through that in a bit more detail as well as we move on. They do weekly calls with the studio. So the account manager will arrange for a VIP who has some great feedback. So I know some of you have probably attended focus groups where, especially in the game teams, where you walk away and you think, maybe a small percentage of that was really useful to me. But when the account managers are speaking to their players every day, they know the players that have the really valid feedback about competitors, about what the real pain points are in the game, what's making them churn from other games, what keeps them engaged in our games, besides the account managers themselves, which they quote on every single call to the studio, that is one of the biggest reasons they stay with the game is because they love their account manager. But aside from that, it's really valuable. And I'll dig into that a little bit deeper on. This is also for those of you who are trying to get finance to actually build a VIP department and you're not on the game side. This is a great way to leverage it because not only are you talking about this is the end ROI, you're also talking about the practical ROI for the studio teams. There are a lot of people who are getting their information from communities, which is amazing, and some people have fantastic communities out there and they are whitelisting and doing beta testing inside their communities and it's wonderful. But if you had the ability to reach out to your highest value players to say, you guys are the most connected with the game. Let me hear what you have to say about it. It's very beneficial. So we also do gift giveaways for loyalty and reactivation. So we have closets full of gifts in the office that we're able to send out to our VIPs if they've had a bad experience or they've had a bad beat or we've had an issue with the game that is being resolved, but they're still not so particularly happy with us. Of course, we'll send out some swag to them, and they love. If you have a small budget, I would say to you, even T-shirts. with the game name on them, they will just eat them up. You know, we often go and meet VIPs in the airport, and they'll come in, and these VIPs have spent a lot of, invested a lot in our game, a lot. But they're so happy getting off their plane with their VIP shirt and the name of the game on the front of it. They really love them. So even something as small investment as branded shirts, that will definitely get you traction with your players. Excuse me. So we also do lapser surveys, lapser survey calls. So we see some, excuse me, if we see some softness in DAU or VIP DAU, or we see some softness in revenue, the studio will reach out to see, hey, can we do some calls with the players and see what's going down, what's happening with the game. And then the account managers are able to take that information then and attend those weekly meetings with the studio to say, this is why your VIPs are lapsing. This is why they're not coming back to the game. And then what they do then is all of a sudden support get more traction. They've been talking about an issue for months and months with and trying to get something fixed, and then when we start talking to VIPs and they're lapsing because of these issues, all of a sudden there's fixed days put in place, or it's put on the roadmap to be resolved. So it is powerful when you're able to give that information. I don't know how your support is set up, but they may not have the value of these players when they're coming back with the support reports, with the volume of tickets that are coming in. So they need to be coupled with the account managers so we can give qualitative and quantitative feedback to the studio to make sure the right things are being fixed for the players at the right time. You also need a solid management monitoring this. So in terms of your productivity, your quality, they're your highest value players. So you want to make sure that you've got a solid management team in place so that you have all your checks and balances in there. You know that the variety, we have a thing called Week in the Life for our VIPs, and that's to ensure they're doing a variety of those calls that we talked about on a daily basis, and of course that their quality is high. So we need to make sure that, so it's really important to have solid management in there that are able to work with the account managers and vice versa. Then talking about VIP lifecycle. So this is where we kind of go off track a little away from marketing, because I'll show you when we get into the details, but the messaging from the VIP team should always look like it's from a person to a person, and should never look like it's a bells and whistles, click here, point me here, touch me here kind of email, you know. Not that there's anything wrong with that. They work absolutely fantastic on the mass. But if you're trying to build a relationship with a person to a person and you send a bells and whistles email, the brand is just not, it's not solid. So what we do is we have, of course, our life cycle tracks for our VIPs, which are welcome anniversary, big wins, birthdays. And then we do a VIP promotion every week. So we have an awesome PMM that works solidly on VIP, and what he looks at is promotions that give us 7-day streaks, 5-day frenzies, sweepstakes, and those kind of things will move the daily return rate, the weekly active users, and they'll also move the average rev. So we want to make sure that we're doing those. We also do ones like engagement, ones like scavenger hunts. So VIPs, so we're gamifying our communication with our VIPs. It works really well in the match 3 genre. Like they like to do it on their own, as I said, their activities. So asking them to work with a team towards a team goal in VIP world is not as effective as asking them to go find scavenger hunt and find things within the game, so they can send it back to their account manager and really connect with them. One of the last piece here is technology. So we have a customized CRM system that we use for VIP. Unfortunately, there was nothing at the time when we started to just pluck off the shelf and work on this. So what our customized CRM system does for us, it pulls in all of our raw data and manipulates it so that we are able to surface data science modeling to our account managers, and they see them through call queues. So they know who to contact and when at the right time. And then also, because we use this system, it also measures the impact that that's had. So when a contact is struck, I'll just show you the setup of it. So the information comes straight from our data warehouse. It's manipulated inside our customized CRM. When we get to that point, the account managers then have the different call flows that they've got to do. There's a reverse API then that returns the information back to our data warehouse to say, a reactivation was placed on this date for this person, and then we're able to pull out the impact of those reactivations. Okay, so in terms of life cycle management, so I touched on it a little bit here. Everybody's threshold for becoming a VIP is going to be different per game. You know, I can't stand up here and tell you what Zynga's is, but I mean, everybody will have looked at your own data and mind your own data, and you know where your point is that you consider a VIP. I hate the W word. You'll never hear me say the W word. It's just an awful, considering some of our demographics, you never want to use that word. So the lifetime spend, so they come in and they've hit a lifetime spend threshold that you have assigned, and then it's time to go on the tracks. You're on a welcome track, you're on a pre-churn track, or you are a lapse track, or you stay on the active and you start to receive all of these. You'll see there are different things like events, push notifications, reactivations, standard weekly cadence that they receive over the course of this time, plus of course the phone number collection piece that they get as well. So this is kind of a look at, and when you're looking at these, this is not an email only life cycle, this is their phone calls as well. So this is made up of calls, emails, push notifications as well. So building player-centric teams, so this is something that I touched on earlier on about how the studio teams actually get involved with VIP and really, I had a conversation once, we had a conference inside Zynga before, and we were talking about who knows what a fun game looks like, who should be at roadmap meetings, you know, and there was a lot of discussion amongst a lot of amazingly talented people and game designers in Zynga. And I met my CEO coming back to the elevator afterwards, and he was only relatively new in the company and with the company. And I said to him, you know, I said, we were talking in here about which, you know, discipline of people from within the studio should be at those roadmap meetings. And in fact, I don't think you have any 50 plus female game designers in this building. And I don't think you have had anybody who's made the investment like those 50 plus females have made. So in actual fact, it's them who should be at these roadmap meetings. So obviously, you're not going to bring your players to a full roadmap meeting because things can get bloody, right? So what we did instead was we spun up these focus groups. So we've got this amazing team inside Zynga who are our PhD guys, and they do all of our insights. So a lot of their work is around before we spin up a game into a particular genre. They do a lot of deep dive research. But how they work with us with VIPs is we bring in 5 or 6 VIPs to the studios. We rotate these disciplines. So every discipline will meet them: engineering, game design, art, QA, everybody you can think of meets them, and they have different sets of questions. You'll have a question maker and a note taker, and we'll move them around. VIPs sit and they talk to them, they talk through the different things. And before that, the pre-work before that actually is that we have, I'll pop into this one, the pre-work is with the insights team that we actually determine the goals with the studio. So those really bright PhD insights folks go to the studio and talk to them about what is the goal of what you want to achieve from this focus group. It may be, you know, we're thinking about a whole new element to a particular genre that hasn't been done before, and it's risky, and we want to see what that kind of looks like for VIPs. So what they'll do is they'll ask them, can you put your questions together? They'll actually break down with them how to best to ask those questions. Sometimes it can be difficult for a PM who's focused on revenue, an engineer who's focused on the framework of everything, to work together to kind of ask questions of a VIP who is essentially a customer, and we want to make them feel loved. So what we do is we work with the insights team and the studio team and say, these are how these questions should be phrased. This is how you deliver this as a question to a VIP. And then on the day of the event, the VIP account managers will take them down to the studio. They'll rotate them. And then afterwards, the account managers will bring the VIPs off to an event. For example, if it's here, we might do a trip around Alcatraz with them, whatever it is, to reward them for coming to visit us and give that information. And the Insights PhD guys stay behind, and they help the studio team break down that data and understand, okay, where does this fit against our roadmap in terms of what they've said they're not interested in? Doesn't mean the roadmap has to be broken up, possibly, you know, depending on how much investment is going to go into those features. Then post-event, the consumer insights do a debrief with the studio, and they'll give key learnings to the studio, and then of course we'll get those key learnings back as well when we've missed it because we're off on a boat trip with the VIPs. But the players absolutely love it. You know, they love being there. They feel so valued. when they come to meet the studio team. And the studio team are actually more intimidated than the VIPs when we get there most of the time. But there are 3 different ways you can do it. You can build that player-centric team. One is the survey sends that we can do. So your marketing team may very well be sending out surveys. And of course, it's going to be no reply at x.com because you don't have anybody manning returns or replies in your marketing department. So if you have a VIP department set up and you ask them to send out the email, the players are then able to respond to those surveys and say, yes, I do actually have a problem. My game's been broke for a week and nobody's fixed it. And then all of a sudden we have opportunity to find the upside. And we, of course, always put in our survey, if you want us to give us a call, just click this button and we'll give you a call and fix your issue for you. One of the VIPs had once said to me before, she was getting reactivation emails from a competitor, and she said, the game's broke, they never fixed it, I had a really bad experience. She said, that's like if I went into a restaurant and the restaurant was dirty and they came to me and said, you can have $50 to come back and eat in our restaurant. And she said, why would I want to go back to your dirty restaurant? You haven't fixed the problem yet. So by sending out mass emails and marketing to say, come back, but we haven't fixed the problem, marketing and VIP need to work together so that we can have the best outbound come back to us message. And then you've also got people manning it on the other side to actually fix the problem for VIPs. And then the focus group, which we went into. So just a little bit of more on the importance of VIPs. So when we spun up VIP for slots, we had a group that came together themselves organically as a supergroup. And what they decided to do was they would contact me regularly and say, we need to have a meeting with you. There's something's gone wrong with the game, or we have demands. And they would come with a list of demands, and they would refuse to meet their account manager and say, I want you in the meeting. And they'd say to me, you have a job because of me. They were like a mafia conglomerate, but these women were amazing. What I realized was the pieces they needed fixed, they were communicating them with their community and saying, hey, listen, we're getting this fixed. We're talking to Gemma and Zynga. We're getting things fixed. Hold on, we've got some time. And they were actually keeping people engaged in our game. And then I also realized that this group, I have a group of people, account managers, trying to reactivate players. This group is a reactivation group. Nobody wants to leave this group. They've become social friends with these people and they don't want to leave. So if they leave the game, what else would they talk to their players about? So I just wanted to bring back again the importance of, and one of the things actually that happened with this group was they said that your buy page is very confusing for us. We find it very hard to understand your buy page. And we were looking at it thinking it looks very self-explanatory. We couldn't understand it. So we actually iterated on it and we had this group go, that's it. That's how you explain what the buy page looks like. And they had boycotted purchasing until we had fixed this issue, So it's the importance of being there and having somebody who's listening to these VIPs is just so important. I can't talk enough about that particular one. Okay. So I know I'm going on about this again, but I will go into how we apply it then further on. So this is Mary again. We do some awesome things with our awesome brainstorming sessions with our account managers on the regular because they're talking to the VIPs every day. So what we know can change over time, of course, and same as in everything. So we pull in the account managers and say, whiteboard in the room, and say, what did your players talk to you about today? What did they talk to you about the last week? So we start to write up things and we say, okay, well, we can see what's important to them. Like, for example, we have some VIPs who are interested in kind of, I got a pen pal. I got a letter from my friend in Germany, and it was so awesome to get this letter instead of these emails. I really like getting these letters, and they give you insights like that. Now, what you've got to do is have your account managers who will be able to help you apply that then to getting players and keeping players. So getting players back and keeping them active and interested in the game. So you can see all the things that Mary talked about over a period of time. And what that resulted in was us being able to build out emails that really appealed to our VIP players. So if you look here, we used stuffed animals. So some of our VIPs, they talked about mythical creatures, fairies, stuffed animals, and they have pictures of teddy bears and that kind of thing on their Facebook. So they talk a lot about that. And we wanted that image in the picture to remind them your friend misses you as opposed to, here's your bells and whistles. excuse me. So you see the text is very scrapbook-like. They really enjoy scrapbooks. So you can see the frame of the HTML mailer is very much, it looks like a letter on a bureau table. And the reason for that is we want it to feel like this just landed in your house from your friend. You know, this is something, I miss you. This is a postcard from me. And it looks very scrapbooky, is, you know, what they really like as well. We also wanted to remind them of their friendship because we've had some great times with VIPs. We ask them to send in poetry sometimes and limericks, and that's when we get our highest return in our inbox for VIP. They love doing it, in particular genres. Of course, our poker VIPs wouldn't write poetry first, but they get really engaged in that, you know, and they really enjoy that. And we often, some of the account managers will send out, you know, I made in a particular genre, for example, like the match 3, hey, made a cake this weekend and this is the recipe and this is what it looked like, and we, you know, they really engage in that kind of thing. So thinking about the good times we shared is actually a real line that actually means something. Then we always have this subtle reminder. So in the text copy, you know, we're talking about we'd love to have a call with them. We'd love to get them spinning again and things like this in here. We know how you love those big thrills of those big wins. So adding it into the text copy rather than into the art asset in this particular one is because the art assets used by a marketing team to bring back a slots player are very much animations of big wins. This is what you love. This is what you love. So we're embedding that in the text copy because the top of it is about how much we love each other, you know, in the art asset. Okay, so, and then of course, when you move on to a different genre, there's a whole different, that's applied in a whole different way. Poker VIPs, this is Derek, he's one of our VIPs in poker. And a lot of the VIPs say that they play to escape, which is the same for a lot of games, but they want to escape away from their daily churn. So what we did as a group with the account managers is we actually drew a picture of a really frustrated guy having a really bad day in the office. And then we did a split screen and we put him on the beach. And we said to our art team, can you convey this message? We want to convey it to a VIP. We want them to look at this art asset and really feel like because at this stage, this was a reactivation email. So they left the game. We were trying to get them back. We wanted an art asset we could use in a scalable email program that we could send out and they could feel the same feeling they would if Daniel called them on the phone or one of the account managers called them on the phone. We wanted them to get the same feeling. So, and they always love the social aspect of it. So this is the email we ended up with, the art asset. So they initially came back to me with a guy on the beach in bathing clothes. Sometimes I say the words wrong because I'm Irish and I'm using wrong terminology, American terminology, but so bathers, and it just didn't seem like it was touching. It was touching on the escapism, but it wasn't touching on the fact that it was social and you had people there, your friends were there. So then we said, put more friends on the beach, give them all devices so that they're all playing Zynga poker, and then put some clothes on them because, you know, this is for our VIPs who are 50 plus males and females, you know. So basically this is what we ended up with. And again, the subtle reminders in the text copy is about what they love about the game. You know, we want you to escape back to the tables. You know, we miss seeing you here. And it's all about using the same terminology that they use as reasons for why they play our game and they stay playing our game. Okay, so in terms of upside to product lifecycle, I went into this a good bit earlier on, but this is just kind of all put together here. So the voice of the VIP for product, we facilitate the weekly calls. We do regular feature surveys and educational videos. For example, if a feature is not working and it seemed like it was going to go really well before it was launched, and we don't see any traction from the VIPs, and we got in touch with them, did some focus groups, did some calls, did a survey, and found out they just didn't know how to use the feature. It was too complex. So what we had to do was tear the feature back a little bit, and the game team then were able to recreate it in a format that the VIPs actually enjoyed and understood. And then we had effective VIP campaigns. So we execute the weekly campaigns and the back to pays, the reactivations, and the week in the life are the 90 calls a day that the account managers do. And we sustain VIP engagement by our lifecycle marketing for VIP. And we also do those regular brainstorms with our account managers so that we make sure we're keeping our material fresh for our VIPs. And then we do the building the brand, the on-site VIP groups and those exclusive VIP events that we do at Zynga. So measuring success, this is the only reason that you guys stayed, right? Excuse me. Okay, so these are the things we measure within Zynga, within VIP, just to see what is most important to us. Productivity is number one. In terms of whatever strategy you put in place, if that productivity is not being hit, then all of your analysis is going to be off, and it's going to look like your strategy's off, but it's maybe an operational issue. So you got to make sure that you're keeping your productivity on point. And as I said, 90 a day is a reasonable amount of contacts a day. There are some companies out there that are doing 130 a day through their support, and 90 doesn't seem like a lot, but this is account management and it's not customer support, and you need to have the time to be on those calls, building those relationships, talking about deals. Some of our genres are like, just give me a deal. Like, give me a deal and I'll get off the phone, They want a deal off their account manager to make their purchase, But other ones really want to talk to you about their life and particularly their game. If you have an IP that's, like, for example, we have a new IP coming up. Everybody knows it's in the news, right? I was thinking, should I say that? Is it okay, Sarah, right? Yeah. So with Game of Thrones, you're going to have to be actually embedded completely in the license and understand the license inside out, for your VIP account managers to be actually able to get traction with those VIPs and build relationships with them. So we're doing a lot of work around that at the moment, making sure everybody's up to speed on the show itself before it launches. So VIP ARPU, so this is your most constant. So whether the game is doing well or whether the game is in a bit of a code red or code amber and is not doing fantastic, your constant thing is your average rev per VIP DAU. So what that is you have 1,000 players who played in 1,000 VIP players that played in any given day, and then you're going to look at the amount they purchased and divide it by the purchasers, and that gives you an average rev per day. So that gives you your ARPU for your VIPs. And that you can go on. Your uplift should be, the uplift that you've measured that I'm going to go into now should always be on your ARPU because that's the one constant. If you do reactivation goals and you do, which obviously we monitor, you can see on the screen here, we do monitor them, but they're not our be-all and end-all. These are mostly for operational direction. Then, of course, reactivation campaigns. What's working out there? Is Toto sad enough in the image? Are we connecting well enough? Is the art assets that we're using or the text copy we're using just not touching anybody? Do we need to revamp those? And then we do that, obviously, by looking at the results of our reactivation campaigns. And that would be number of people returned and number of people who return to play and pay. And then, of course, our DAU base. We want to make sure that we're not losing our VIP DAU. Each account manager has approximately 20,000 VIPs that they manage. They manage them constantly. They're dedicated to them. And we want to make sure that their DAU base, each account manager making sure that his DAU base is staying live and he's not losing any of his players. And we surface that to them in dashboards. And then, of course, pre-churn data science model that we're using. There's some of the data science models that we use, that Zynga actually use. This is the first one we've hit that we're actually really actively using. But in order to build a pre-churn model, you've got to have about 40 attributes that mean something to you in your game. Session duration, number of logins, number of weekly logins, daily return rate, all of those kind of buying, purchasing behavior, all of those things will be melted into your pre-churn, and only your data can show you what that when that pre-churn flag should pop to your players. Like if I was to stand here and divulge the Zyngas, which they wouldn't be happy with me doing, but even if I was to put it up here on the board and say this is exactly our pre-churn calculation, it wouldn't apply to your business, so it wouldn't be that relevant for you. But those are the kind of attributions that they use to build out the model is, session duration, buying behavior, playing behavior, that kind of thing. And then sweepstakes. So in order for us to boost revenue, we do sweepstakes where we will have a high value ticket item like one of the ones we talked about, those live trips. And the call to action will be every purchase. So we're contacting people who are purchasing regularly and saying every purchase or every day you play within this period of time will give you an entry into a sweepstake for you to win. Maybe it's a cruise or, a trip to head office for a farm party. So looking at our campaigns, this is just an example of a back to pay campaign. So back to pay is where people are playing but they haven't paid for a particular reason. So we want to pull them back in and give them an offer. So their account manager will actually reach out to them with an offer. So we know that this is a fake campaign, by the way. It's not real data, but it is, the percentages are what they are real. So an email campaign will bring back around 4% for VIP, and the phone campaigns will bring back about 15%. So if we are doing a sweepstake that's of really high value or really want to drive up, we'll get all account managers for a particular game. We've got all the account managers on the phones, and all of a sudden we see a much higher success rate. But email, of course, being scalable to that number of VIPs, you've got to have email as well. So I think the first step for those of you who haven't started to measure is to do an 80-20 holdout group. Unfortunately, that means 20% of your VIPs are going to get no treatment whatsoever. And that is scary for a company to actually do, considering you may already be applying some sort of treatment to them. And then you've got to take away all emails, everything from them. So it is scary to do that. However, until you do this, your company will not invest properly in VIP because you don't have a percentage attribution. You don't have a percentage return on investment. So in this case, what I've done is I've just put one last slide together to show you what I've created a company called Irish Gems, just to show you how you can calculate your return on investment here. So if you were to look for some revenue or for some financing for VIP now, for the company Irish Gems, and these are not Zynga's numbers, you have some of your highest value groups. So you have 40,000 players in there, and you say, okay, I want to put 2 account managers in here, and I want to apply what Zynga is doing. I want to do gifting, I want to do swag, I want to do focus groups, I want to do events, and I need 2 people to do it, and I need a system to do it. What does that look like in cost, So you're able to look at the cost of this and then look at the actual return then annually. So 40,000 VIPs are spending, and again, these are not Zynga's numbers, $2 million a month. If the program uplift is giving you 15%, so that's 15% looking at your ARPU, test versus control. So the delta between those 80 that we applied VIP treatment to versus those we applied no treatment to resulted in a 15% uplift. So now you're over here and you're saying, okay, so if I can put 15% on top of this with VIP management, that will give me an extra $300K a month. So the total cost of having the events, the swag, this is a swag number, but let's say you're ending around $55K a month for the operation. So it's going to cost you $660 for the year. But the actual return on that, after the net return on that with 2 account managers, is $2.9 million. So now you have a dollar figure that you can give back. So you can take this away, you do your test and control, you get your percentage, then you come back and you say to your company, listen, I can give you 10%, 8%, 20%, whatever it is for you, and then look at how much it's going to cost you for your headcount, your systems, your events, and then put that together, and then you're able to give a value, a dollar value by the end of the year based on how many people. You want about 10 people in there, you're talking, $20 million here, that you can bring back to the company. So that's kind of how you would structure it once you've kind of put those best practices in place and you're putting forward, hey, I want to pitch, or indeed you have one now and you would like to put more into it. So you need to know that test and control, that 80-20%, you need to find the delta in the ARPU, and that is your definitive ROI on your VIP management. And then you can just cost out everything, apply what they're already spending with the uplift, and there's what you can tell the company you can gain for them over that year. One more thing, sorry. So just to summarize, so we talked about in the setup, we talked about segmentation, staffing, profiling VIPs, and rewarding VIPs. So this is something that you're going to have at the very early initial stages. And then once you have that, then you're going to have to start to maintain and improve. Just remember, before you move to maintain and improve, the setup stage, getting those phone numbers and emails is step one. It is absolute step one. Step two is having a system. Because if all these things you're doing, you can't actually monitor the success of it. You know, having your data science and your data analyst team on your side to help you build out all these experiments is the most kind of beneficial thing that you can do when building out VIP. So maintain and improve. System functionality is so important. Data science modeling is really important so that you understand not only the qualitative but the quantitative as well about your VIPs. That we've had a look at the operation overview. We've had a look at how we can influence the product team. And then over on the other side, we had a look at some of the key performance indicators that we look at in Zynga. And we had a look at some campaign results, the experimentation on the 80-20, and then how you define your ROI based on applying everything. Does anybody have any questions?
Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you for the talk. It was really fun. I enjoyed it. I was just wondering, how many account managers do you guys have per game, per like VIP? Like, if you have 40,000 VIPs on one game, how many account managers is that? And then how does that look over your entire company, managing all those different channels of managers?
So the rule is with real money gaming, the rule is 300 to 1, and the rule, I'm applying the rule, what I've seen work is 20,000 to 1 in social gaming because you don't have all their connections, you don't have all their phone numbers, so that's why it's easier to scale it to 20,000. But I would say 20,000 to 1. Really,
20,000. So do you ever have like VIPs, like the top of the top, like the 1% of your VIPs where you're like, this guy, you need to have like 20 to 1 or anything like that? Or you never tier
no,
it
they
that
will
way?
they'll prioritize them. They know, so they have dashboards and they can see their elite VIPs. So they can see, you can see their top 50 VIPs, whether they're active, whether they're, you know, all of the metrics that they need to see about their top 50. So they would never lose a sight of their top 50, you know, so they'll go through them first before they attack anything else.
And so it's the elite VIPs that you invite off to Italy to go do stuff.
Not necessarily. It has to be random. So if we're doing a sweepstake, it's invite only. So it's a certain spend, lifetime spend over overall. It's in the terms and conditions to make sure it only goes to VIPs. But outside there, it doesn't necessarily. I'm done. He's telling me I'm done. Sorry. There's a wrap-up room over here that I was told to let people know if you want to pop down here if you have any questions. And also if there's no problem. The GDC folks asked me to ask if you could guys fill out a survey so that they can make GDC better. Thank you guys.